blustery morning here in London. So I thought that there'd be a good chance this morning to get ready for the tzom tomorrow, the tzom of 10th of Teves. Oftentimes, you would think you'd actually give the talk on the day, but let's do the hachana now. Let's do a good hachana so we can be ready when the tzom comes tomorrow. And I think, I don't know if I speak for myself here, but I do find that oftentimes 10th of Teves is the tzom that, of all the 4 tzomis that we have that are commemorating the Churban, I've got some source sheets coming around as well, so just if you stay with me, don't read ahead. I know there's always a big insider, so let's to read ahead in all the source sheets, so stay with me step by step. We're going on a journey together. But of all the tzomis that we have, I do find, especially here in the Northern Hemisphere, that 10th of Teves is the one where it comes it's very, very short day. Sometimes it's a case of blink and you'll miss it. It's so quick, it's gone so fast. And hence I find that oftentimes in terms of the chashivas that we give it, of all the different tzomos, oftentimes it's the one which, it's a strange one, because we know it's an important day. It's one of the Arba tzomos. We see, I've got the source sheets I've passed around. In the source A, the Shulchan Aruch brings the 4 tzomos we have in the year. There's Shiva Tammuz, we have Tisha B'Av, we have Tzom Gedalia, and of course 10th of Teves, all of them which are commemorating the Churban, all those 4 fasts. We're going to see, Metz Hashem, through the shir this morning, that actually 10th of Teves, some might say, is the most choshev of all 4 of those. And it's going to be quite fascinating because, like I said, for us, it's gone very quickly. I was once in Australia for 10th of Teves, and it was boiling hot, and the fast went out at 9:30 at night. It didn't feel right. Just like it didn't feel right having Hanukkah there, lighting candles also at 9:30 at night when it was boiling hot outside. But still, we want to go and understand what is the chashivas of 10th of Teves. Why is it, therefore, that it's going to hold this place of being, according at least to the Aros Tavash of Yos and Eibshitz, the most important of all the fasts. And let's get our heads together on this one together. So we see in source B that I brought you here, it's brought in many places, just happens to be that I bring the Mishnah Berurah for you here, that what happened on 10th of Teves, we see Shaboy Samach Melech Bavel Nebuchadnezzar came Harasha al Yushalayim Ve'evia b'mtzor mitzok b'mizen imshach ha'chorban. That was the day that Nebuchadnezzar Rasha arrived in Yerushalayim and he started the siege. The siege began of Yerushalayim. 2.5 years later was when they managed to get through on Shiva B'Samaz. They got through the walls, followed by Tisha B'Av. But 2.5 years earlier, on that day, Nebuchadnezzar arrives and they begin the siege of Yerushalayim. So again, we have to sort of understand. It doesn't. Nobody seemed to have died on that day. No arrows were fired on that day. No one. So it would already seem to be. And I hate. I use this word very carefully. I'm using it for the purpose, as they say, of the drama of the shir. But it seems to be the most parav of all the tzomos. Tzom Gedalia, at least we have someone who's assassinated. On Shiva B'Sava Tammuz, they break through the walls. You can see there's the pirza, they're going in, and of course in Tisha B'Av, the base of English is destroyed. Here, it's just a siege has started. Very strange that it's going to have such chashivas as we're going to see in it first as we go along. The first point of interest I want to pick up with you is this interesting word, the word samach. It says here, samach melech bavel. We see this is from the Makor is in Yechezkel, where in the Navi Yechezkel, where it talks about the events of 10th of Teves. Vayidav Hashem Elai b'shana hatishis. This is the 9th year of Tzidkiyahu Melech's reign. The Chodesh Asiri, the 10th month. Ba'asor l'chodesh, on the 10th day. Leimor, again, the 10th day of the 10th month. Ben Adam sam lecha es Shem Hayom es esem hayom hazeh. Samach Melech Bavel es Yerushalayim be'etzem hayom hazeh. Again, picking up on this interesting word, be'etzem hayom hazeh, in the midst of this day, on this very day, Samach Melech Bavel. Samach. Very interesting word, Samach. Samach means to get close. When you say ani samuch al mishu in Hebrew, modern Hebrew means I'm close to someone. But Samach also means to support. Ani somech, I trust, I support. Ani somech alecha means I trust you. And samach also means to support. So interesting word. We don't see, by the way, in the other 2 sources that talk about the events of 10th of Teves, which is the Malachim base, which is the source D that I brought for you there, And in Yirmiyahu Navi in source E, we don't see there the lashon samach. It doesn't say it there. Rather, it used the word vayichan. Vayichan is the word that's used. Vayichan means he came and made a camp, an encampment outside the walls. Doesn't say the word samach. So we have only one place where it uses the word samach. That's in Yechezkel. But in Yirmiyahu and Melachim, no, it's vayachanu. But the words we sing, at least the Mishnah Berurah and Rambam also use the word samach melech bava. Okay, it's interesting. Something to put on. We'll come back to it a bit later. About this interesting word by the use of the word samach, not just vayichan. Or it's an interesting point we're going to come back to. But let's go really into the main question, which I think everyone's talking about, especially this year, which is that we're going to be fasting on Erev Shabbos. We're going to be fasting on Erev Shabbos, which we all know there's no other fast in which we ever fast on Erev Shabbos. Of these four fasts, especially, we don't fast on Erev Shabbos. But let's go even one step further. We see already in source F, the Shulchan Aruch brings out, Kol Dalet Tzomus, all the four Tzomus, Halalu, Im Chalul Liyos Be'Shabbos, Nidchav Lachar Shabbos. They're all, if they would ever fall on Shabbos, that Tisha B'Av, Shva Salat Tammuz, which happens quite regularly, that you get Shva Salat Tammuz or Tisha B'Av on Shabbos, we always push it off to the Sunday. And none of these four fasts you would ever end up fasting on Shabbos. As important as they are, as chashuv as they are, you would never fast if it fell on Shabbos. If any of these days
Friday
ever fell on Shabbos.
Friday.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, first of all, it's source F, I'm showing you that if it would be Shabbos, then for sure you push it off on Shabbos. Okay, the question would be on Erev Shabbos. It turns out that none of the other fasts ever, the way they set the calendar up, ever fall on Erev Shabbos, except for Asar B'Teves, the only one that falls on Erev Shabbos. But if you take a look, it's very fascinating. Everyone likes to quote the Avodarim on this. The Avodarim was brought down from 1300s in Spain, Rabbi David Avodarim. In source G, you see that the Beis Yosef quotes the Avodarim with something which really is earth-shattering. The Avodarim says the following. If you see in source G, Rabbi David Avodarim comes out. Behilchos Tainis. Sheyud B'Teves, the 10th of Teves, Hu Meshuna Mesha Tanios. It's different to all the other Tanios. She'im hayachal b'Shabbos, lo hayucholin litchoiso. If it fell on Shabbos, not Erev Shabbos, according to Avodarim, if Asar B'Teves was on Shabbos, you would have to fast on Shabbos. Why? So we have to ask, that's quite a bold statement. If all the other Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos, you push it off. Shva Sabat Tammuz, Shabbos, you push it off. Asar B'Teves, you're fasting on Shabbos. And we've already said that no one died, no one was killed. It's strange. The Avodarim uses, the reason why he says this, he's using the words, as we saw in Yechezkel, where it says, Be'etzem hayom hazeh, Be'etzem hayom hazeh. Where else do we see the lashon of Be'etzem hayom hazeh? We see it by the other day, the other fast, which happens on the 10th of the month, which is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, in source H, we see in Vayikra, Ach ba'asar l'chodesh hashvi hazeh, Yom Kippur hu, mikol kodesh yelachem, v'nizim v'zoshechem, v'kodnei shel Hashem, v'mecha lo tasu be'etzem hayom hazeh. As soon as there's a be'etzem hayom hazeh by Yom Kippur, says Avodarim, so too, you link it to Asar B'Teves, and just like Yom Kippur, you would fast if it's on Shabbos. Very, very strange. The Lo Yadati, Beis Yossi says, the Lo Yadati minayin lo zeh, K'tuv od, he also says, Yud B'Teves chal lefamim b'shishi, u'misalim boi b'yom, v'shad tzomes l'olam, ein chalim b'shishi. When they set up the calendar that none of the fasts will be on Shishi, but we have Asar B'Teves on Shishi. And the truth is, if we think about it, we will be fasting on Shabbos, because Shabbos comes in, we'll be in shul, and by the time we bring in Shabbos, we will be fasting. So there will be a certain amount of Shabbos tomorrow night, maybe however long your chazan takes. There's the famous, everyone's already starting to talk about who's going to take the Amud on Friday night, and whoever dares to do Kalabach Minyan tomorrow night is in big trouble, right? But however long, they say on Friday, Yud Teves, that's when all the wives get to find out exactly how long davening takes on a Friday night, right? Because everyone's like rushing back quickly, right? That's when you find out exactly how long it takes. So, but depending on how long the chazan davens for, we will be fasting for a certain amount of Shabbos tomorrow night. It's a very strange thing. That why when they say just because it says By Yud Teves, that we also say it on Yom Kippur, and that's why, says the Abu Dara. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go a little bit deeper into this and try to understand maybe even more profoundly what is going on this day. We're going to look at two sources mainly. Firstly, the Yaros Dvash, that's Rabbi Yonis and Eibshitz, and we'll also look at an absolutely fascinating Chassan Sofer that I think is absolutely moridic. So I'm excited to share that with you, this Chassan Sofer. So let's go first into the Yaros Dvash, which is in source I. Here you have here. And even just picking up on the words, the words are just the words. He's not mincing his words, so to speak. The Eibshitz. Take a look what he says here. I'm sorry. Take this. In source I, right to source I. It says Vayom hahu kashel Yisrael leMaod Yoseh miyon chorban habayis. Asar Teves is more chamor than even Tisha B'Av. Now we're all scratching our heads saying, well, I don't understand, because we all think that Tisha B'Av is the heaviest day of the year, but Yud Teves is more chamor. Ki Tes B'Av on the 9th of Av, Ein Adoich Shabbos, wouldn't push off Shabbos. The Ilu Yud Teves Lefi Kvias Kadmonim Shaye Efshal Yois B'Shabbos Karkas Alpha Beis Yosef B'Shem Avodaram Ki Doiche Shabbos Kmo Yom Kippur. So, as I've said before, we already see that you wouldn't push off Shabbos according to Avodaram. Umizem Noifes Ki Tzara Gedoyla Hayisa. It was a great tzara, and why is that? And here is the yisoid of the shiur. Ready? Let's go. Ki, he says, "V'kol haschalois kashos," as the Zohar says. The haschalos are kashos. The beginnings are the hardest parts, are the worst parts, are those first moments. The beginnings of everything are the most bitter moments, he says. And since this sort of the string or the strap was broken, it was allowed now. The Ritzua had been cut. Now Hashem's given permission for Nebuchadnezzar to come and to lay siege on the city. It was already the road was now broken. The Chorban was going to happen, and it all began. The seed was planted firmly in the ground on Yud B'Teves, on Asar B'Teves is when it all really began. And because the first moments are the most bitter, that's why really Yud Teves is the worst of all the days. It's the hardest day, because it's where everything began. It's again, everything's now Nebuchadnezzar's permission, the green light has been given, the Ishur has been printed, he's got permission to go, and it all begins on this day. Hence, says Rabbi Yonis and Abishit, this is why it's the hardest, it's the harshest of all the fast days. Again, when we kind of ruminate on that a little bit, we think, well, what most of us, Asar B'Teves is the one where it's a little bit fast, it's in, it's out, before you know it, you're already looking at the clock, it's like 4:45, you're running to Mincha Mar, it's gone. But it's actually, according to this, the hardest day of all. Now, interestingly enough, you see, I brought here in sources J and K, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, which I think really bring out this point. Fascinating enough there, the Gemara in Tainus, V'hainu Dama, it's in this bolden part in source J, V'hainu Dama Rabbi Yochanan, Ilmale Hayisi Ba'oiso Ador, Lo Kavasis Ele Ba'asiri. Talking about when they would make the fast of Tisha B'Av. Should it be on the 9th of Av or the 10th of Av? Because even though we fast on the 9th of Av, they only set fire to the Beis HaMikdash towards the end of the day. The end of the day is when they set fire, and it really burnt on the 10th. The Beis HaMikdash burnt down on the 10th. It didn't burn down on the 9th. They started the fire on the 9th, but it burnt down on the 10th. Rabbi Yochanan says in the Gemara there, I would have made the tzom asiri. I would have made it asiri b'av. It should have been the 10th of Av. But the Rabbanan turned around to Rabbi Yochanan and said, no, we don't do that. Why? Ischalta de Purnasa Adifa. The Ischalta, the beginning is more adif, it's more strong. Then they came in the Beis HaMikdash, they ransacked the Beis HaMikdash, and they started fight. That's the hardest point, that's the worst point. When they began it, when they started it, that's the worst point. That's the most bitter point. And on that, the Chidush HaGavos, if you take a look in source K, he brings that also regarding the Meraglim, because the Meraglim, remember, that happened on the 9th of Av, when they came, the Meraglim came back and they told them the news, and they cried, but they cried in their tents going into the 10th of Av. Really, it was that night of crying was really, they heard the report on Tisha B'Av, And he cried, if you take a look, Nechad Bias Meraglim, Hayabi Yom Tes, Be'erev, Achar Kach Belel Yud Haisa Bechia. They cried on the 9th of the 10th of Av. So really you should say, well, really it's all about the 10th of Av. I said, no, because they came back on the 9th of Av, and they gave their report on the 9th of Av. And that's the Haskala, that's the beginning of it all. And therefore we go always to that first point, that first move. It's the hardest point, it's the most bitter point. And that's the Raya you also see from the Gemara in Tainus. Let's think about it. So many of the baroguses and fights and arguments, whether it's in a family or it's in a community, you can take it back to that first one, the first point that began the whole thing off. And when you really do a cheshbon nefesh and you feel bad, you go back, you wish you could just go back to that first moment and change something. Maybe someone shouldn't have spoken, maybe someone should have been quiet, been silent, or just held back at that first moment, because it was that first initial hole in the pipe that the water comes out. There's a brought in Sanhedrin in Daf Zayin Amud Aleph. There's a beautiful Amar Amar Rav Huna Hay Tigra Demaya Litzinura the Bedika Demaya Kevan de Rabach Rabach. Once there's a hole in the pipe, it starts to drip out. If any plumbers in the room, I don't know, like it starts to drip out a little bit, more and more and more and more and more, until it just starts to widen and widen and widen. Then you have a gushing flow of water. But it all started from that one small hole, that one small little hole in the pipe, and suddenly you've got a whole torrent of water. How do we always go back to that first moment? That's why Yud Teves is the hardest day according to the Yaros Tavash. Let's go and take a look at the Chasam Sofer. The Chasam Sofer is absolutely moronic. It takes it even to the next level. I think hopefully, I don't know, maybe you've all heard this before, but for me at least there's lots of Kiddushim here, and I don't think I'll ever see Yud Teves again the same way. The Chasam Sofer, this is in Torah Moshe, in his Drush Zayin Adam. If you jump in with me 3 lines down, 2 words in, where it says V'yesh lahavin. Okay, it's 3 lines down, 2 lines in. V'yesh lahavin. Halo Yud Teves lo haya rak haschalas metzor ha'ir. It was only the beginning of the siege. It took 2.5 years till they actually went in and destroyed. Surely the Churban is worse than the starting of a siege. What's the start of a siege? So why is it that Tisha B'Av won't be Doiche Shabbos, but we say potentially that Yud Teves you would have to it should be really, why should it be that this fast of Yud Teves ain't Doiche Shabbos? So we see that really the Yud Teves would push off Shabbos and Tisha B'Av wouldn't. Venira, here we go. This is where he's going to bring the point now. Venira v'ayar the hine hatam shekavu tainis al metzorahu. The reason why they made a tainis for the beginning of the siege. There were many times Yerushalayim had a siege around it, like we know in times of Sancheiriv, Chizkiyahu Melech, etc. There were other times as well. It says here, Rak hatamhu damash ha'isa ha'ir v'tirdas ha'matzor shtei shalem v'chetzeh zu machmas she'b'oiso yoyim she'samach melech babal lemata al Yerushalayim k'mokein yashvu beis din shelemala. On that day, on Yud Teves, the beis din shelemala got together. It was decided on that day in the Beis Din Shel Mala that the Beis Din Hamikdash will be destroyed. If you jump down a few lines just before it gets into there's a little kind of wider line, just before it says in the Zeh b'chol pam k'shemagia oiso yom, says the Chasam Sofer, every year when it comes to Yud Teves, tomorrow, right, Yom Shel Teves, she'itchil az lema'ala mishpat ha'korban, where the mishpat happened. More came b'chol dor, every single generation. Yoshim Beis Din Shel Mala, the Beis Din sits up there. The goizin ha'korban shel kol shana v'shana, and they will decide tomorrow whether or not there's going to be another year of Chorban, another year of the not being a Beis Hamikdash, or whether we'll have a Beis Hamikdash again. And it's the Beis Din Shel Mala sits, the appointment is tomorrow on Yud Teves, is when the Beis Din Shel Mala will be sitting down and they will be deciding. And because of that, says the Chasam Sofer, this is the Moronic point. He says that the fast of Yud Teves isn't a fast of Sha'avar necessarily. It's not a commemorative fast. It's not commemorating Mashaya Ba'avar, what happened in the past. Ela, he says, it's like a tainis chalon. And Tanis Chalom is something you're worried about something that might happen in the future, so you fast because of the future. So it's like a Tanis Chalom. We're worried about the future. It's to doing tshuva and asking Hashem for rachmim for the future, and hence that's the reason why you could be doing for Shabbos, and that's certainly why we will be fasting on Erev Shabbos, and even part of Shabbos is because it's not like the other fasts, like Tisha B'Av, where you're fasting on the Shavar. You're actually fasting La'asir, because it's the day of judgment. It's the day of judgment. Hashem sits on this day and judges us on this day. So again, these are just Moridic points of the chashivas of this day, this fast day, which happens so fast and so quickly. So what's the avoider? What's going to be the avoider of this day? Again, it's the day of din, it's the day of stringency. So let's go back originally, the time as it is, the word we start with, samach melech bava. And with this, I want to share just an idea. The Lubavitcher Rebbe says this in Sichos. The word samach, like we said, means to support. It means to give help. Because samach melech bava means that at that moment of the siege starting, when the Hashem decided the base of English has to go, is to remind us that even through the galus, even through the fact that it was destroyed, Hashem was doing it for us, because we couldn't be there anymore. We'd not done our job properly in Yerushalayim at that time. Hashem had to take the base of English away, but the whole time He's been with us. The whole time He's samuch aleinu, He's with us. Each step of the galus, because there's a purpose for the galus. There's a purpose why we're here. We have to do the tshuva. We have to fix ourselves. We have to work out from all the broken pieces of the galus, from all the difficult, disastrous times we're going through. Hashem is samuch. He's with us, and He's trying to teach us something about how to do tshuva, how to change the world, how to keep going. We go ups and downs of the Jewish world. Exile, redemption. It's not just exile for the sake of exile. There's no thing as just galus for the sake of galus. There's galus, and there's a reason for the galus. It's to go to the ultimate geula. And that's why it says the word samach, to teach us that Hashem is with us even in these difficult times, even in this really, really, really hard, and again, especially this year, maybe more than recent years, just to feel the galus and how strong it is, and the people around us that are baying for our blood. And he stopped for a second and say, Hashem is with us in this. He's samuch, he's next to us, He's holding us through this, and there's something we have to learn. So many discussions I'm having personally with people in my line of work. Where is God? Why is it happening? And we have to explain. I'm trying to explain to them there is a purpose. It's not for us necessarily to we have to be sensitive in how we say this and when we say it and how we say it. But there's a purpose. Hashem is waking us up. He's waking us up to something here. This is why maybe this is a day of transformation. It's a day we can transform. The Beis Din Shamala is sitting on this day, and He's watching and looking over us. It's a day where we're being invited to transform ourselves. Just like Yom Kippur, right? We're making that connection, Yom Kippur, Betzmei Yom Hazeh, and Asar B'Teves. It's a day of transformation where we can change. Just like we see the Rambam in the last source I brought for you, source O, the Rambam says there that all these fast days in the future, they won't go, they won't be obliterated. There'll be no Tisha B'Av. What happens? They'll be transformed. They'll be moving from days of Evel, days of mourning, to days of Sasan and Simcha. We'll transform the days. We'll see where Hashem was in all those moments. That's the why He says, the Lubavitcher Rebbe says we use the word samach melech bava in these days. In the broken pieces, from the brokenness of the galus, we can find the light, allow the light to come in. So again, let's just summarize as we come towards the end here. We ask the question, why is it that Yom Teves is so severe to the extent that we even actually fast a little bit on Shabbos. We fast a bit, we go into Shabbos fasting, no one died, no one's fired any arrows, nothing. It seems to be just a siege started. And the answer is, yes, no one died, but all the pain, all the destruction, everything started in that point, in that one moment. It all began. Kol haschalas kashos, this is Yaros Tvash. And on that day again, the Sofer is the day where the Beis Din Shamala sits. It sat then and decided, green light. We're going to give the green light on the destruction of Beis Din Shamala. And therefore, every year, says the Chatan Sofer, on Yud Teves, the Beis Din Shamala sits and decides if it's going to happen this year or not, if it's going to happen this year, or it not happen this year. It's happening on this day. Our void is to go back to that source and to transform ourselves and to find ourselves again through all those broken pieces, to find Hashem Samuch. Hashem is with us in those moments. We have to find Him and build up from those broken pieces. I heard a story from my Rebbe, Moshe Weinberger, just to finish with this. Beautiful, just a story, maybe you heard it before here. A story that was back in the beginning of the 1900s. There was a terrible famine in Yerushalayim, and they had to raise money. So they sent one of these Yerushalmi Yidden. They asked them to go off to raise money to go to Europe. and he found himself in Rome. He went off to Rome, and in those days Rome was quite a wealthy community with some wealthy Jews, and he's walking around in Rome trying to find some people to get some money, to raise money for Yerushalayim. And as he's walking the street, he realizes it's coming towards Shabbos, he's got nowhere to go, and a wagon comes past very fast, and outside the wagon there's a from Yid, from Jew, shouts out, Yehudi. He says, yes, Tavor. He comes in, says, come to me for Shabbos, I'd like to invite you for Shabbos. Fantastic. So he comes in for Shabbos, the Friday night, beautiful home, and they're eating, and on the table there's a glass box, and inside the glass box there's looks like a broken vase or a broken container smashed up inside this box. So everyone else is staring at this, wondering what it is. But of course the Yerushalmi Yid is like, just ask straight out, can you tell me what this is? I need to know what it is, please. So this Roman Jew says to him, just thank you for asking. No one ever asks me what it is, but I'll tell you. He said, I originally lived in Amsterdam, and my grandfather lived here in Rome, and I was asked, the business was going in not a very good direction, and I was asked if I would come to Rome to help my grandfather. So I arrived in Rome and I came to be with him. And at first, while he was alive, I was a frum, I was keeping Torah mitzvahs, I was davening and everything when he was still alive. But once he died, things just kind of went south. I stopped davening, and then eventually I just stopped keeping everything. I married a Jewish woman, that was important for me, but I kept nothing else, nothing at all. So my life became basically non-Jewish. If you'd see me in the street, you wouldn't know I was even a Yid. And he said, one year, I was walking in the street, it was around December time, and this little Jewish boy ran into me by mistake, and as he ran into me, the jar he was holding full of oil fell out of his hand and smashed all over the floor. There was pieces of these shards everywhere and oil all over the floor, and this little boy started crying his eyes out. I said, what's wrong? He said, tonight's Hanukkah, and my dad asked me, my Abba asked me to go and get the oil. I've been asking for years and years, and he finally let me, and I went to get the oil for the Hanukkah, and it's now smashed on the floor. He's going to kill me. So he said, listen, don't worry about it. He took out a big wad of money. He said, go and buy yourself some oil, and go buy what else you need. Go take what you need. Go. And as he saw the broken pieces on the floor, he said, suddenly something within me started to shake. He said, I didn't know it was Hanukkah. I forgot it was Hanukkah. I saw these broken pieces, and I thought, that's me. I'm broken. I'm a broken person, completely broken. There's nothing left to me. I don't know what's going on. I'm broken. And suddenly I realized I had to go and do something Jewish. I found myself in a shul, and it was Hanukkah. And when I was in the shul, the Rav was giving a shir in the shul, and he says there the word, Parshas Vayigash, where it says, how can I go back up to my father? And the nar is not going to be with me, he says Yehuda. And I thought to myself, how can I go back up to my Father in heaven, Bahanar, and the Nar, who I was when I was a child, the true me that I know, and I'm not going to take it with me? How can that be? How can I not have my Nar with me? How can I not come back to you? I've been in Yerushalayim. I decided that day, I came back to my wife, I said, we're coming back. So we started to keep Torah mitzvahs again, but I took these shards with me. I keep them in the box, and on the table always, in front of me, the shards, to remind me that it was in that broken moment that I came back to you, Hashem. I came back to you with my full heart. And again, this is just the avoider of these days, of all these songs, is the avoider of just through the broken pieces of our lives, through the brokenness of the world which we see right now, we can let the light in. We can know that Hashem is Samach, He's next to us, He's with us. And on this day, again, as Yaros Vash says, this day which is, it's the day where everything begins. It's that seed, it's that moment where everything began. Let's not forget what the Chasam Sofer says, that it's the day of Din. It's the day of Din L'mala. And it's a short day. We've got to be quick, right? We've got to get up tomorrow. We've got to do as much as we can in a short amount of time, as much tshuva as we can, because that's the day that the Kodesh Baruch Hu is judging us. Will this year be the next Beis HaMikdash will come? Will it be with us this year or not? So, let Hashem will be able to grab this day and do the avodah, and we should see the Beis HaMikdash, please God, and an end to all these small, broken, and difficult times that we find ourselves in, to a place of harchava and a place of simcha. May Hashem hear Amen. Amen. Thank you.